we'll spotlight you. Myra.
Um, hey, I'm so excited to be here tonight, and I'm just honored and privileged, and I'm really happy to have this opportunity to share some things that I have learned along the last 4 years with this Young Living journey. So I joined Young Living in August of 2012, and actually my 4-year anniversary is this weekend, so that's really exciting. So it is kind of funny that I'm sharing on this topic that is about maintaining your sanity, because sometimes I am like a chicken running around with my head cut off. But I'm going to talk about these goals that I have that are wonderful for maintaining sanity. So I've learned a lot about myself and what works and what doesn't work over the past few years. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about my story. And I'm going to try to keep it really short. And it's not going to be probably as short as you wish, but I think it's important so that you need to learn to tell your story, and I need to learn to tell my story in a very compelling and interesting way, because everybody's story is important. So here's mine. I was born and raised in the North Alabama boondocks on our family farm, smack dab between my cousins and my grandparents. I had an amazing childhood, being homeschooled, loving on animals, working in the garden, canning vegetables, and playing with my siblings and cousins. It was pretty awesome. I grew up fairly naturally minded. My mom was literally Dr. Mom, using herbs and homeopathics for our wellness. I was really accustomed to the natural way of caring for our bodies. It was just how we did things. I also learned the quality of hard work early in life. At a really early age, I had an entrepreneurial mindset. My sister and I made and sold sponge-stamped Christmas wrapping paper out of blank newsprint. That was one of the crazy things that we did. I really don't know why people bought that, but they did. Maybe they just had pity on us. After college and landing a really good job, I married my childhood sweetheart, who now I have known for 25.
Why can't I hear anything?
25 years. We made some really unfortunate decisions in our first few years of marriage, including buying a house we didn't really need and we really couldn't afford. We also racked up credit card debt, signature loans, and car loans. It wasn't good at all, but it was about to get a lot worse. The same weekend, I left my job to become a stay-at-home mom for our very soon-to-arrive baby. The economy tanked and greatly affected my husband's paycheck. He worked in the steel industry, and his paycheck was cut by 2/3. So he was making 1/3 of what he had been making, and my income at that point was zero. So my husband took on a second job and worked on his off days, meaning we rarely had any time together. He was working a swing shift, so he would work 4 days and then he would be gone 4 days, and then he would work 4 days and be off working again. And it was just a really, really hard time for our marriage. It was hard for our family. It was hard for me being home with a brand new baby by myself. We have said many times since then that we're so thankful we don't have to live those years over again. We learned from them. As time went by, we kept trying to get out of debt. It just felt like we were throwing water against a brick wall. Like we never, ever would make progress. That's what it felt like. So we finally reached the conclusion that we would rather live in a cardboard box and ride bicycles everywhere and have nothing and just have each other and have peace of mind and be debt-free than living from paycheck to paycheck and have all the stuff that we had, because stuff doesn't make you happy. So out of desperation, this is really important. Out of desperation to save money at the grocery store, I started following all the frugal blogs and coupon blogs that I could find. And I started clipping coupons like a crazy person. I ended up starting my own blog about natural living, DIY, decorating, and recipes. And I met this girl on Twitter. Her name was Alyssa. She lived in Texas and had a coupon blog. You may have heard of her, Alyssa Francis, Young Living Royal Crown Diamond. She wasn't that then. We met at a blogging conference not long after that, and we just clicked. We just got along well, and our families we just were very similar in many different ways. But neither of us were really into wellness. I mean, coupons, most coupons aren't for health food, right? So we weren't really into wellness, but I still loved my herbs and homeopathics from my childhood. So Alyssa's and my friendship grew over social media and the phone over the next few years. We Skyped a lot. And things happened that shifted our focus to a pursuit of wellness. After my second baby was born in August of 2012, 4 years ago, Alyssa, actually my baby was born in July, but in August she came to, no, I'm wrong. She came to visit me right after he was born, but in August I signed up. And so she twisted my arm just hard enough. She literally didn't stop talking about these oils when she was at my house. And I'm like, you are kind of weird. This is a little crazy. And Young Living's a network marketing company. And so I was pretty skeptical. I had some not so good experiences with network marketing in the past. And so I vowed and declared I would never, ever, ever, ever do this business. Never. And I would join just to kind of appease her and use the oils because I was open to natural things. But I think God has a sense of humor. So after a few months of using oils and seeing results, I was really surprised. My skepticism disappeared, and I really started to believe in the company and the product. Like anything and everything else that I love, I shared about it on my blog. So I started talking about essential oils on my blog. And then people wanted to get their own oils. And I'm like, how do we do this again? And so it was just a process of figuring out how to help people and how to share the oils online. And it wasn't a really huge thing like it is now. And so 3.5 years after deciding to do this business, I'm just in complete awe of my team, the amazing friendships that I've gained, the jaw-dropping results that I've experienced with Young Living products, and the experiences I've had at farms with corporate staff. The list just goes on and on and on. But that's not all, because we've been able to find freedom. We've been able to get out of debt. We have been able to give generously and many times spontaneously. That is so fulfilling and so rewarding. And I think we need to be more open and more quick to share this opportunity with people. Everyone has a platform of some sort. You don't have to have a big platform or a big network to be successful at building your business, because I guarantee that someone knows someone who knows someone who's the key to opening up a whole new world and a platform for your business. So it's just keeping on, and finding those people. And so this business that has just kind of taken over our lives is overwhelming at times, but I'm 100% passionate about working to keep things in balance so that I'm happy, so my husband's happy, so my home is happy, and my team's happy. I mean, keeping all those people happy is pretty much a full-time job. So I'm going to share, I think it's 8 tips and tricks for maintaining your sanity while you build your Young Living business. Number 1 is self-care. I am really, really hardcore into this because we're representing a wellness company, right? So if we're running around bedraggled, stressed, running around like chickens with our heads cut off all the time, okay, let's make that caveat. If you're doing that all the time, then number 1, people aren't going to want any part of our business. They're going to be like, I don't want to be like her. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is we aren't doing very well keeping things in balance and ourselves well. So we have to take care of ourselves first. These are ways that I take care of myself, and they'll look different for everybody, but these are things that I do, and I think they're important things that everybody should do. The first thing is exercise. I don't care if you like to go for a walk or a bike ride or a run, or you like to go to the gym. Do something. I personally go to CrossFit 5 to 6 days a week, and it is non-negotiable unless we're out of town or something comes up. That's just part of our routine. It is my happy place and it is therapy all in one. So the second thing is eating well. I try to eat to fuel my body, and I have pretty much done every possible eating plan out there, but just keeping track of what I eat is making a really big difference for me. And so whatever eating well looks like for you, do it. It's important. You're worth taking time to take care of yourself. The next thing is taking my supplements and using my oils. I mean, really, I can't be the only one who forgets to take their supplements and use the oils, right? So I was actually going to show you this. I'm going to click right here. Okay. So for keeping your sanity, MindWise is a great option. Another one of my favorites is Nitro. And then I love Joy, Stress Away, and Valor. Those are my go-tos when I'm feeling crazy. So taking care of yourself by making time to take your supplements and using your oils is really, really important. It seems so basic, but when crisis happens, a lot of times those are the last things we're thinking about. So another thing that I want to suggest is give yourself a Zyto scan. I mean, we constantly are like Zytoing other people and scanning other people in our family. Scan yourself. It's okay. It's worth it to take care of yourself. The next thing is quiet time. Spending time with the Lord, reading my Bible, spending time in prayer. That is a super, super, super important part of taking care of me. And it's kind of like my measuring tool for keeping myself sane. So that's important. And another thing that I love to do under self-care is having fun that does not involve young living with my family and friends, whether it's traveling, going bowling, going like glow-in-the-dark putt-putt, just going shopping by myself. I mean, that feels like a vacation, right? And I love just going out in my hammock and just pretending nobody needs anything from me, even if it's for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Just having silence and leaving my phone inside and just having time to just kind of regroup is very, very beneficial for self-care. Okay, number 2 is routine. I said I was hardcore about self-care. I'm pretty hardcore about routine too, because this is invaluable. If you don't have a routine, you need a routine. We pretty much do the same things every day at the same time of day. And honestly, I detest the word schedule because it feels too rigid and inflexible. And this business gives us freedom to, manage our time the way we want to. So we have so much flexibility and so much freedom with this business, but having a routine keeps everybody on the same page. My husband's at home with me now. And so we have to figure out, and it took a while. I'm not going to lie. It took like a year and a half to figure out what works for us. And this is a tip. So if you don't have your husband on board with you with this business, this is a tip to remember. Something that helps us so much is to sit down and plan our week out on Sunday night. That way, if something's different than our typical routine, our usual routine, which that's pretty much always, we both have it on our schedules already, and it's been communicated. And so this helps things run so much more smoothly because I've said what I need to say. He said what he needs to say. We both have it on our schedules, and we know. It's so much easier than things coming up and being like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. And oh yeah. And that just kind of causes strife sometimes. And so knowing what we're going to do and when we're going to do it helps so much to just keep us on task and protect the next thing that we're going to talk about. Number 3 is boundaries. Do you have boundaries in your business? Are you always available at everybody's beck and call? I hope not. Because training your members and your leaders to be mostly self-sufficient is so important. We talk about all the time how, every class we open, what do we say? We say, we're not the experts. That's right. We're not the experts when it comes to the oils, And we're not the experts when it comes to the business either. We're constantly learning. And I can't tell you how many times I have gotten a message from someone who has a question. And then a few minutes later, they send another message saying, never mind, I figured it out. That is what I want. I want to do a happy dance when that happens, for real, because I love the quote, give a man a fish and feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and feed him for a lifetime. We want to teach our people to fish for their knowledge, because when they search for that knowledge, whether it's about oil usage or whether it's about the business, when they search for that themselves, they're going to internalize it, and it's going to be for them. And they're not going to constantly come to you and say, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? How do I find this? I mean, the list is endless for what people will need if you're the expert in this. So here are a couple of boundaries that I have. I almost never respond right away to messages, to emails. I almost never respond right away because, number one, if it's an emergency, they need to go to the ER. I'm not a doctor. Number two, there is so much freedom in saying, I'll deal with it later. And I deal with it during my office hours. And if I'm not busy or preoccupied, or we're driving the car and I'm riding, sometimes I'll respond, but it's not, I don't feel, there's no guilt in not responding right away. So I try really hard to focus on my kids and my husband when my time is with them. Do I always succeed? No, but I don't want to be glued to the phone constantly, because being glued to the phone is no way to live, because you miss all the wonderful experiences. There's things your kids are going to say that you don't hear, and there's things your husband's going to say that you don't hear, and there's things that you're going to see that's going to be going by. Things happen and you're going to miss them, and you don't want to miss those things. So this leads me to number 4. Number 4 is office hours. Do you have office hours? Are you committed to them? The thing is, with a home business, you don't ever leave work to go home. You don't ever pack up your bag, get in the car, drive down the road, and go home because you are home. Duh. But our work is never done. And so there is a level, I think, oftentimes of guilt. We feel like there's always something to do, always something to do, always something to do. I get that. I feel that way. My to-do list is insanely, ridiculously long, and it stresses me out at times. But having office hours helps provide focused time where I can work, and then I can just walk away when the time is up. And there's no guilt in walking away, because the work will be there when you come back to it. And so for me, my work hours are from 1 to 3 p.m. typically. That's, again, kind of movable. That's because I homeschool in the morning. We have a 2nd grader and a 4-year-old and a baby. And so 1 to 3 in the afternoon when homeschool's done, and then from about 7 to 10 p.m. after my kids are in bed. Because I don't want to miss those moments. And so I would rather work when they are either having outside time or whatever, or in bed, so that I can just focus on my job then and be able to focus on them when I'm around them. Of course, there's flexibility in this plan because life happens, crazy things are announced, and there's a million different reasons for flexibility in this, and that's a beautiful thing. But this is just a helpful guideline to follow, and something when I implemented office hours, I think it was the beginning of last year, I let my team know, these are my office hours, and just feel free to send me anything, anytime. But this is when you can expect to hear back from me on those things that you send me. And so that just kind of helps set the stage and set their expectations, so nobody's frustrated if they don't hear back from you sooner than they think they should. Okay, number 5 is rest. I bet you figured this was coming, right? It kind of ties into self-care, but I really think it needs its own point, because we are too busy. Life is too busy. Usually everything feels stressed, helter-skelter, and out of control, right? Rest is so, so important. It's been said that a great day begins with a great night's rest. It's really true, isn't it? I try to go to bed at 10 p.m. I don't always go to sleep then. And sometimes like end of the month, those kind of things, I'm up later than that. But I try to get my diffuser going with my absolute favorite nighttime routine, cedarwood and dreamcatcher. And I roll tranquil on my wrists and feet. And I just love being able to get in bed and just kind of shut everything out of my mind to have good rest. And rest doesn't only happen at night. I mean, if you're tired and you can, and your children aren't going to, hurt themselves, then take a nap, listen to your body, and rest if at all possible. Okay, number 6 is conflict resolution. Oh boy. I am so passionate about this, probably sometimes annoyingly so. But conflict is inevitable when you deal with people, right? And the majority of our business includes females, lots of them. And so when you deal with people, you're going to have issues. You're going to have conflict. There's going to be conflict that happens. And when you deal with a lot of people, it only gets, bigger or more issues. So there's nothing worse in my mind than having conflict with another person. And this is from my childhood, something that was instilled in me. I'll get to that in a second. I love peace and harmony. I thrive on being at peace with other people. We probably all do. If I know I've offended someone, I want to handle it right away. I want to take care of it because it's not going to go away or get better just by ignoring it. So it could even get worse. So as leaders in this business, we need to be thoughtful, sensitive, and full of grace to the feelings of others. It's been a really, really rare occasion when I've had to deal with conflict resolution on my team. But when I do, I try to have a face-to-face meeting, or Zoom is also a really good option for having a meeting face-to-face virtually. So I was taught growing up to not let the sun go down on my wrath, but to make things right before I go to sleep. So for me, that meant I had some late nights as a child because I'm stubborn. And I've had some late nights as a wife, again, because I'm stubborn. If you hear of someone having a problem with somebody else on your team or cross line or whatever, just encourage them to deal with it promptly and not let it fester. Because like I said, it's not going to go away. It's not going to get better unless it's dealt with. And so along that same line, encourage conflict resolution by going to the person directly with an issue rather than spreading negativity everywhere else. And if needed, be a mediator or a moderator to help bring resolution between people. And I mean, I'm not saying stick your nose where it doesn't belong. Don't be a gossip. But if there are two parties on your team who ask, I need some help dealing with this situation, then be willing to be that person. And remember that grace is everything. Number 7 is letting some things go. We have to get to the point where we realize we can't do it all and maintain our sanity. Some things have to go. Something has to go. And some of you may be in that exact place now. So we each have to decide what those things are. There is absolutely no guilt in saying, I can't do it all anymore. It's just too much. It's too big. I need help. And so there's no guilt in saying no. There's no guilt in hiring help. We actually, when it comes to saying no, we need to say no more often, because I'm the kind of person who somebody presents me with an idea and I'm like, yes, let's do it. And then like a week into it, I'm like, oh shoot, this is taking way more time than I imagined. So we just need to feel the freedom to say no more often. The thing is that when we say no to one thing, we're giving something else our best yes. So make your best yeses count for something that really matters, something that's really important to you. And as your business grows, outsourcing is a fantastic option for things that you need help with. Things you want to do, but you don't have time for. Whether it's hiring an after-school babysitter to come and stay with your kids so that you can focus on a little bit of work, whether it's a housekeeper, whether it's an assistant, whether it's a virtual assistant, whether you need somebody to do your yard work, whatever it is, sit back, look at where you are, and look at if you're feeling super stressed and super insane, then get some help and it's okay. There's no guilt in that. It's not because we're failures. I don't want to spend my off time when I'm not working. I want to spend that with my family. I don't want to spend that time cleaning my toilets. Okay. So you just have to figure out for yourself where you need help. And maybe, depending on what stage you are in your business, you can even make goals. When I get to this rank, I want to hire somebody to clean my house once a week, or whatever set goals for things that you want to outsource. We can't be all things to all people, and there will always be things that need to go. So find freedom in that process. Okay, last but not least, number 8 is freedom and being positive. I promise we're almost done. This business is one of freedom. And guess what? People want freedom. They want time freedom, health freedom, financial freedom, travel freedom, freedom to follow whatever their dreams are. And we have to find that freedom for ourselves and be crazy vocal about it. Are you vocal about it? Are you just think about the freedom that you have, the freedom that you found, or the freedom you desire with your Young Living business. Don't for a second hide the freedom that Young Living has brought into your life, or the freedom that Young Living has the possibility and the opportunity to bring in your life. Share it on social media. Tell your friends. We need to be more vocal about this incredible opportunity. I don't care if you have found freedom on a tiny, tiny, tiny scale or a huge scale. Any kind of freedom is worth talking about, whether it's, health freedom. That's so important. Whether, certain products have just totally changed your life. That's freedom. People want to hear about that. If it's paying off debt, talk about that. Oh dear. I'm viewing somebody else's screen. Hang on. Okay. If it's wellness freedom, talk about that. If it's freedom to do what you want, when you want, talk about that. You are your own obstacle. Let's get past that. We need to talk about it. The end. I mean every word that I say. Talk about the freedom that you have found with Young Living. When I was able to go to the grocery store, this was a huge moment for me. And I remember texting Alyssa about it. I don't remember what rank I was. But when I was able to go to the grocery store and not feel panicked at the checkout, that's freedom. There is no freedom that is too small to talk about. Okay, and be positive. Freaking out or panicking about something isn't good for your health or for your team. The first reaction doesn't need to be panic and freak out over something. Just sit tight, wait. It'll probably get better, okay? I know that things are not always hunky-dory in this business. I get that. But you are the thermometer for your team. I'm the thermometer for my team. Our teams take their cues from us. So we have to be ready to go and positive. So be a problem solver and use your positive energy to build a positive spirit in your team, in your Facebook groups, in your chats. I'm not talking about like being Miss Positive Pants all the time. There's a balance between being real and being too positive, like nothing's ever wrong. That's kind of dumb. So find that sweet spot between where you're genuine and where you're authentic and where you're vulnerable. Find that sweet spot. I like to call it empathy. I like to call it empathy with positivity. So I'm giving you permission to implement these things into your business if you aren't already. And don't look at all 8 things that I've given you tonight and think, oh my word, where do I start? And then not do anything. Okay? Take it one step at a time and implement them slowly so that you're not overwhelmed. Baby steps, just total baby steps. So that's all I've got. And I hope that you are encouraged and inspired. And I hope that you will take these tips for maintaining your sanity and put them to work in your business and in your life. I love you guys.
So, all right, Myra, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, so when you said if it's an emergency, they need to go to ER, like I love that. It's amazing. And then also learning to say no, and a lot of people would agree. This is something I'm trying to work on, but giving someone else your best yes. Like there's just so many things that I've written down. This was absolutely amazing. Thank you. And a lot of us need to hear this. So we have a few more minutes, and we'd love to open it up for some Q&A. Myra has agreed to answer any questions that you guys have, not only about the business, but about life. No, let's try to keep it to the business. So if you have questions, go ahead. You can unmute yourself and ask it, or you can post it in the chat. We'll do this for about 10 minutes. Let's see. So like I said, just if you want to ask Myra anything, go ahead. You have to unmute your...
Myra, Nina Cowell up in Saratoga Springs, New York.
Hi.
So, hi, and thank you. It was lovely, beautiful, important points that I think we all forget when you get in the fervor of trying to go up in rank or help someone do that.
Yes.
But in the beginning, just for you to build your team when things were rather grim, at your lowest moment, probably financially, what was your secret? Did you do phone work? Did you do meetings in your home? What did you do that really put you over your first edge of silver, gold, to just prove to yourself that this was the business?
Once I started, I determined not to stop. And come hell or high water, I was going to make this work. And so no matter what obstacles came in front of me, by God's grace, I just determined to keep going. And, a lot of my business initially, especially, was from my blog. And so I did a lot of online training and with Facebook groups and emails back and forth with people who were signing up. And so but I think a lot of times people hear that and they think, well, that'll never work for me. So don't think that, because everybody has the opportunity to find their special place to grow their business, whether that is in-home meetings or online or whatever the avenue is that you have. But just commit not to quit. Like, it's not an option.
Okay, so when you did your blog with now we have new restrictions. We have new, with the compliance, we have new, because I'm trying to break into the whole internet idea that you can gather and teach via the internet, but it has its definite upsides, but it is probably the most scrutinized venue of all that we do.
Sure. It absolutely is. A lot of content from my blog is gone now because of the FDA.
So you're not continuing to do a lot of your enrolling via your blog anymore?
No, I'm doing a lot more local events.
Okay.
Yes. We're doing, my team and I are doing monthly local events on various different topics, and people can come, new people can come. We alternate between education and business.
Okay.
So you're doing 3 to 4 a month?
No, one of those a month. That is local, team wide.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Sure.
All right. So there's a lot of questions in the chat.
Okay.
How has your work hours or schedule changed along the way? Has it always been the same, or have you adjusted that along?
It's pretty much been, before I didn't really have office hours when I wasn't homeschooling. And so I just kind of did it whenever I wanted to. And that's one of the things that I learned. That's not good for me to always be working. And so once I set my office hours, that is what I try to stick to.
What about any other tips for getting your business off the ground with an unsupportive husband? This is a common issue, and so
Yes.
this is a good question.
I don't have experience with that personally because my husband, he was telling somebody about me joining Young Living. I heard him telling this on Tuesday. And he said, I'm just generally supportive of whatever my wife does because I just trust her. And so I thought, well, that's nice. And he's always been that way. And so the best thing I know to do is this is going to be funny, but this is what Gary would probably say. He would say, put joy in their shoes and put joy in their underwear. That's what Gary would say.
Okay.
So, but practical tips, I think it depends on your husband. It depends on the personality. It depends on what the issues are, but just keep sharing. If you don't have a supportive husband, money talks. And so work your little hiney off and bring home some bacon. And then he'll start thinking, oh, maybe there is something to this. So you can prove your point by showing the results.
So Lisa asked, when momentum is lost, what is the best way to recover and build it back when you seem to be falling behind and not going forward? Good question.
Ah, yes, momentum. That is tough. Again, commit not to quit. I mean, we've just come through the summer, right? Slow summer. But one thing that I like to remind people of is that if everybody else thinks the summer's slow and you're hustling, then you're going to be ahead of the game more than they are when they finally, figure out that they need to hustle again. And so I think consistency is key. And whether things are really good or things are not so exciting, your consistency, the way that you lead your team, the excitement that you have, all of those things are going to play a part in keeping your team kind of steady rather than, because if your energy goes down and they're, like I said, you're the thermometer. And so if they feel your energy down, their energy is going to be down too. And I know people are flaky and some people flake out of this business and that's just part of it, but there's always new people to go find. And so sometimes we just have to think outside the box to regain that momentum.
Okay. Tony said, we are trying to expand our team outside of our state, and we have several out of state. What have you found is the best way to keep those members growing?
Facebook education and business building groups, support chats, Zoom calls. There is okay. So one thing I did say this. Alyssa's in Texas. She's my sponsor. I live in Alabama. I had every possible excuse to say I can't ever do the business. I don't live near my upline. But I didn't make that excuse. And the first event I actually went to of Alyssa's was this year in April. And that's the very first event of hers I ever attended. And so we can use anything that we want to for an excuse, but technology makes almost everything possible. Facebook Live is huge. If you're having a class and you're local and you have all these other people that want you to have a class for them, just Facebook Live the class and let them join that way. There's just so many options. There's no reason to not be able to do what you want to do.
Okay, let's do one more if that's okay, Myra.
Okay.
Ashley asked, what resources do you provide for your leg leaders that empowers them to take the lead for their own team?
I don't respond right away. That's part of it. But my leaders my frontline and my leaders, they're just go-getters, and they kind of just take charge and they just lead and they do it for themselves. And resources, when my leaders hit ranks, I send them books, leadership books. I love John Maxwell. I love the 4-Year Career that goes to my senior stars. I mean, I just try to put resources in their hands. And even in my business group, I'm trying to encourage them and inspire them, and just consistently, if that makes sense. And so then they get fired up, and then, and they're building their own team, and their team is feeding their energy. And it's just all working together like one harmonious, beautiful thing.
Awesome. So Melissa is asking if she can ask a question through audio. Are we going to let this happen, Myra? Or what?
I don't know.
It's an easy one.
Okay.
How are you, Melissa?
I'm good.
Thank you for taking time tonight.
Good.
So
Sure.
my question would be, I'm right at my 1-year mark. So when you're starting to see, a lot of, like, we saw such fast growth, and then some of those people didn't continue using their oil, how do you reignite those people who maybe aren't your members, but they're still within your downline? Like, what do you do? What's your reach that you do to kind of get those folks involved again?
Well, at this point, I, would work with their nearest leader and ask them, hey, what's going on with so-and-so? What are they doing? I noticed they haven't ordered in a while, or whatever. And texting is becoming much more popular for communicating with people, and it's totally acceptable. And if you do care calls, just plug your ears. Okay. It's just not my thing, and that's okay. And I know it's not everybody's thing. And so, some people love it, and that's fine. But if you're a crazy busy mom and you don't know who's going to be yelling or screaming, or somebody falling, or, who knows, the insanity part, if you don't know what's going on, text them and say, hey, how's it going? I noticed you haven't ordered in a while. Is there anything that I can help you with? And reaching out to people and showing that you care about them, not making a sale, is vital. And so you being vulnerable, saying maybe something you've been using, maybe you share that with them. There are so many different ways to reach people who haven't been ordering. And, sometimes offer an incentive. If you reactivate or you order by a certain day, and I'm going to send you this. Work with your leaders to come up with ways to reignite that excitement. And a lot of times I really think it comes down to a lack of education. So they're not using their product, so they're not ordering more, or they need more information about the business, because everybody should want to share this business, because it's the most incredible compensation plan across all of network marketing.